Hi, and welcome back to the garden. If you're new here, I'm Connie. If you're returning, you've seen the garden before, and I thought I would give you a little update on where we're currently at. It's been a couple of weeks since our last video, and that is mostly due to the fact that we have started up with our homeschooling again for the year, and it's been a little bit busy for us. So I have actually recorded a couple of different videos and haven't had a chance to get them edited. And then some of the videos that I've done, I started recording and it seemed like things would just start to fall apart. It's been one of those weeks. So this video may seem a little bit less edited, but I did want to give you an update on where the garden currently is. I thought, hey, I'm coming out to the garden to pick a couple of tomatoes and some peppers, so why not record a little video just so you know that I'm still around. Our cherry tomatoes have been doing wonderfully this year. We've had so many of them. We like to have them on salads and give them to the kids at lunchtime and include them in dinner meals. I like to take them and just roast them in the oven with some olive oil and salt and pepper on them, and they make a great dish for pretty much any pasta dish. I love to have them put on top of our macaroni and cheese. Really, we have so many in the garden. I've been coming out pretty much every day sometimes, but usually every other day, picking these tomatoes just to kind of stay on top of them. And I think this is the most we've ever gotten in a growing season for our cherry tomatoes. I actually planted less of these plants this year, and I seem to have gotten more tomatoes than what we did in the last 2 years of planting them. Last year when I planted them, we had a couple of really heavy rains, and so a lot of them that I planted ended up bursting just because they couldn't hold all the water. And this year we haven't had much rain at all, so I haven't had any issues with that, and that's probably what has gotten me so many tomatoes this year. On the other hand, what I haven't done very well with are the Roma tomatoes that I've planted. I actually planned on not planting any Roma tomatoes this year because last year they didn't turn out very good either. And this year it seems like they are starting to look okay. And then as they start to ripen, they just start rotting right away. So I'm not sure what the cause is of that, because a lot of times they're planted right next to some of the cherry tomato plants that I planted, and those have been completely fine. I don't really know that much about what's going on with them, so it's something that I'm going to have to look up. I'll try to get you a close shot of what some of the plants actually look like once they start going bad. So here are a couple that you can see that look pretty good. They're on the small side, but they look all right. But then as they start to ripen, you can see down here with these ones, they start to get these spots all over them that just continues to get worse right until they just completely are rotting. I only ended up getting 2 Roma tomatoes that ended up ripening nicely on the vine, and I was able to pick them and use them. All the other ones, before they even got to the point where I would pick them, started to get those spots all over them, and then within a couple of days they were just rotting right there on the plant. So I'm not really sure what's going on with those, but I'm really not too devastated over it because I was considering not even planting them. I just had a few seeds left over and ended up planting the seeds just because I figured why not use them up. So it's not too big of a loss for me. Other than that, we have gotten some really nice tomatoes. These ones, I can't remember what variety they were, but I'll put it on the screen. I have gotten so many of these. They've been really delicious. The next thing I wanted to show you are The peppers that I planted this year, usually I do not have good luck with peppers, and I ended up planting some of these. I think they were just called round peppers, or maybe they were cherry peppers, I'm not positive. And I did plant a couple jalapeno plants, and I just put them in some pots, and they actually are doing pretty well. So I thought that we would go ahead and pick some of these. I picked some maybe a week or so ago and cut them up and put them on a pizza, and they ended up being really good like that. I'm just going to clip these off the plant. But we've gotten quite a few of them so far. And this one's already turned red, so that could have been picked before. But they look great, and I'll probably end up doing the same thing with these, just slicing them up and sticking them on a pizza. For the first time this year, I'm growing some winter squash. I've never planted this before, but I had the seeds. I think they were from when I ordered a whole pack of different types of seeds from one of the seed companies. But I said, let's just try it this year, and so far we are getting quite a few of them. My first one to grow was just this little tiny one, but you can see it down here. I had to look up to see how or when to harvest these, because I've never grown winter squash before, and it said for butternut squash or winter squash that you should wait until the stem starts to get like dried looking, because that's when all the sugars have been released inside the plant, I think is what they said. But so then you'll end up getting like the best tasting, sweetest. So then you'll get the best tasting, sweetest, I can't even say that. So then you'll get the best tasting, sweetest squash that you can. So I have that one that's ready to, so I have that one that's looking like it's almost ready to be picked, and then I have another one that's much larger over here, and then there are several little tiny ones that we will be able to pick later on, but I'll show you what some of them are looking like so far. So here is one of the little tiny ones, and you can see there's another one starting to grow right there, and there's more all along this vine. There are several, so that's really exciting. I think I only had 2 seeds that I planted, and the plant actually wasn't looking very good at the beginning, and then all of a sudden, it was really once the heat that we were having kind of was done, but then we started to get all these squash coming up, and the vines really came alive. So that one is actually pretty large compared to the other ones. And then our basil's looking pretty good here. Oh, and here's another addition that we have to the garden. I'm going to crouch down here to try to get you a good view of this, but another addition that we have in the garden are all of these Slate pavers. We had these along the edge of our garage and in an area at the back of the garage that we had planned on doing kind of a little patio area with them. We had found them, the original owners of the house had had them scattered all over the yard because they had several flower beds throughout the yard. And as we were doing different projects, we would find them completely covered in grass and dirt all over the yard. So as we collected them up, we created a little patio area at the back of the garage, which just always ended up weeds coming up in between all of these and never really worked out as planned. And then along the edge of the garage, we had these larger ones that was for a little walkway out to the front of the house. And they were always all lopsided and everything. So we decided that we were going to put in a concrete sidewalk along there, just because we figured in the winter time when we have several feet of snow, it'll be easier to shovel along than trying to shovel over top of these. So I decided that I would take these, and instead of having to constantly mow out here, I would try to just randomly place them and see if I liked the situation with these here. They're not all where I want them to be. I kind of just was placing them as we were removing them from other areas. But I really love the look of this out here, and I will probably in the future kind of dig them out a little bit and get them so they sit a little flatter, because some of them are a little rocking as you walk over them. But I figured for this season I'll just lay them out here and see if I like the look of them and see if it's something that I want to keep for the future. But let me know, what do you think? Do you think I should keep these slates and have a little walkway out here, or stick with the grass? I've also considered maybe getting the little tiny river pebbles and covering the ground with them, or maybe doing a mulch out here. But so far I like the idea of doing something that I already have, because that's free. But let me know what you think, or if you have a certain ground cover that you have in your garden area that you would recommend, or one that you would say don't do what I did. Let me know, because I'm definitely willing to get some advice in this area. So let me know what you think. In one of the other videos that I did, it showed me picking a bunch of our potatoes, and unfortunately we didn't get as many as what I would have liked, and we've already gone through all the ones that we've picked. So I'm definitely going to have to be purchasing a bunch of potatoes this winter that I thought that I wasn't going to have to purchase. But luckily we are still getting our Swiss chard. It's much smaller than what it has been, but we've been eating off of this all summer. I did plant some more Swiss chard earlier in one of the earlier videos, but unfortunately those never germinated, and I don't think we're going to get anything from that. I'm thinking maybe it was just too warm when I planted them. Alright, I'm trying to think of some of the other things that I've mentioned in previous videos. I think maybe I did talk early on about our apple trees, and I'll walk over to show you kind of what they're looking like. And here is one that had several apples on it early in the season, and now it has none. The deer ate all of the apples off the tree. So for next year, I don't really know if we are planning on continuing a larger fence all around the yard, but until we do have a larger fence, I don't think that we will get any apples, because they'll just continue to get eaten. So both of the apple trees that we have, there's one over there, and then there's this one here. All of the apples were eaten, so we'll be buying those from one of the local orchards for this year. And then we'll come to these garden beds out here, and I will show you. This is where I was planting the green bean plants, and as you can see, I think also they didn't germinate. Maybe the soil was just too warm when I planted it, but nothing came up. We did have potatoes in here before, and they were completely blocking out our onions from getting any light, and so it's nice to see that the onions are starting to grow a little bit better. And I kept this cage that we built over top of them just so nothing would get in there and dig them up, because we did have a lot of issues with the squirrels digging up our other onions. And then this one here is kind of deterring the rabbits from going behind these garden beds. And I just have some rolls of fencing here because I just didn't have it in me to keep fencing up everything this year. I got a little bit frustrated with the wildlife out here. And then this is where I'm going to cut in some video to show what happened with all of our sweet potato plants, because we didn't end up getting any sweet potatoes this year. So I'll cut over to a video of what happened with that right now. I wasn't planning on making a video out in the garden today. I've gotten in the habit of coming out in the garden every couple of days and just grabbing some of the things that I know that we'll use for that day and maybe the next day. And when I came out to the garden this morning, I found something that was a little shocking. I hadn't noticed it before, and now I have to try to figure out what am I going to do to fix this, or can it even be fixed? So let me give you a look at what it is that I found. When I first moved the cages away from the garden bed that I used to kind of protect the area in between the beds and behind the beds where the groundhogs were getting in, I noticed that there was a bunch of digging under the edge of the garden bed that has our sweet potatoes in it. And then I started looking in the bed, and I'm not sure if I can get this on video very well, but if you can see, there's a bunch of digging that's been going on in some holes. I'm thinking maybe this could be chipmunks or could be moles. I don't know what, but I had noticed the other day that our sunflowers all started dying off, and I thought maybe it was just from extreme heat or sun. I'd been watering them, so I didn't think that that was the case. I didn't think that it was because they didn't have enough water, and I really don't think that it was too much water. Now I'm thinking maybe something was eating the roots of it. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to clear out some of the sunflowers that have died off, and I'm going to get this pumpkin picked that started growing in here from the vines that came from our pumpkin garden bed that's right next to this sweet potato one. And I am going to probably clip out some sweet potato vines and grab some of these leaves because they're still looking good. But the thing I'm worried about is what I found right here. This used to be where one of the sweet potato plants was buried, and now it's a huge hole. And I'm hoping all of the sweet potato plants, or all of the sweet potatoes, haven't been eaten. This is a little bit early to be digging up sweet potatoes, but if I can get anything, I guess it's better than nothing. So let's give it a look and see what we can find, and hopefully there's not too much destruction. Wow, this is a heavy pumpkin. I can see a bunch of other little tunnels all throughout this bed, so it might be a total lost cause. I've never had an issue with chipmunks going right down into the garden beds before, and I've never had an issue with moles before. I do have fabric on the bottoms of these garden beds, but there's always a chance that they could have dug through the bottom or dug through the fabric, or just digging from the top down. Yeah, this has completely been eaten right off. I do have another one here. Let's see what we can find. This is another one. It's completely eaten right off. All of the leaves are eaten off of these. Trying not to ruin the pumpkin vines. Here's another sunflower that's completely dead. It's usually the squirrels that are the worst on our sunflowers. I think I just saw something run across the ground over there. I'll give you a little shot of this. Something's just picked this to shreds. It looks like something was eating right here. They ate the tops off of the onions. So I had some onions growing here. And there's a lot of damage on the tops of the other ones. That one's still attached. If it is moles, I did look up on the computer and it said that you can get rid of them with marshmallows, which I guess there's something in the marshmallow that the mole can't digest, and so it will actually kill them. And then there are other things that will just deter them from coming to the beds. So I'm going to have to probably go out and buy something to try to control this a little bit. Here's another one that it's been eaten off. Every section of vines that I pull up, I'm just finding another hole. So I'm not sure what my options are right now. I'm going to go through some of the sweet potato vines that I just cut off, and I'll probably go through some of these other areas and try to clean them up a little bit. And this might be it for our sweet potatoes this year. And we'll just say there's always next year. You live and you learn. You do the best you can, and then you learn from the mistakes or you learn from your misfortunes. Here's more. They were all eaten off. Here's more holes and tunnels. It's hard to stay positive when your entire garden bed is ruined from pests. But once the initial frustration and terror is gone, I'm going to try to look back at this as a learning experience and try to stay a little bit more aware of what's happening under all those beautiful leaves in the beds, and make sure that I'm checking for the sort of problems in the future. I'll try again next year, just like every other gardener says, and hope for the best. But it's a little bit defeating pulling out a whole garden bed that's been eaten by something. So I'm not sure yet what I'll be doing with this garden bed for the rest of the year, and it's going to take a little bit of time for me to figure out how to correct this and make sure that it doesn't happen again. It's too late to get any new sweet potatoes planted. All we can do for now is try to salvage some of these leaves, use them up, and at least I got a great pumpkin out of this bed, and hopefully you can learn a lesson from me and make sure you're paying attention to what's happening in your dirt under your leaves. So that was really frustrating with our sweet potatoes, but we'll try again next year. And then here's what we have left of our pumpkin plants. We have a nice pumpkin growing here, and we did get that one that I picked that had been growing on top of the sweet potatoes. So we have our corn stalks that really the squirrels got the best of. We did get a couple ears of corn that we cooked up one day, and we were each able to get some with a meal, but that was about it. And we have another pumpkin here, and we might have a couple other ears of corn that we can grab off some of these stalks, but they're completely laying over. Thank you for taking a couple minutes to join me out in the garden today. I just wanted to give you a little update on what's been going on, and hopefully as I get back into the routine of our schooling, I'll be able to get some more videos out to you. I'd really like to have them done once a week, but life doesn't always allow that. So I hope you're all doing well, and I guess I need to get back to watering the garden. So thanks again. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to get another garden video out to you this year before we end up tucking the garden away for the winter. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.